Get ready for a revelation that will shake the foundations of your faith. Have you ever wondered why the Prince of Darkness himself, Satan, would have an interest in a man's lifeless body? And not just any man, but Moses, the great deliverer of the people of Israel. The answer to this question goes far beyond what you can imagine, touching on topics that directly affect your spiritual life today. Think about it. What could be so valuable in a dead body that would cause the adversary to enter into a celestial battle for it? The truth is, this fight was not about a corpse, but about something far deeper and more dangerous. Something that could lead millions of souls astray from the path of true worship. Have you ever found yourself idolizing something or someone without even realizing it? Perhaps a charismatic leader, a sports idol, or even an object you consider sacred. For that is exactly where the danger lies. And that is why Satan wanted Moses' body so badly. But make no mistake, this story has not been stuck in the past. The same dangers that Satan tried to exploit with Moses' body are alive and active today, perhaps even in his own spiritual life. The good news? By understanding why Satan fought for Moses' body, you will gain powerful tools to strengthen your faith and guard against the pitfalls of modern idolatry. Get ready for a journey that goes from the valleys of Moab to the deepest corners of your soul. Are you ready to discover truths that could revolutionize your understanding of worship, spiritual warfare, and the role you play in this cosmic drama? So, hold on tight, because we're about to dive into one of the most intriguing mysteries in the Bible. In a distant land long ago, there lived a man named Moses. He was not just any man, but one chosen by God to lead his people. After a life full of adventures and challenges, the time has come for Moses to leave this world. But what happened after his death was something truly extraordinary, something that has never been repeated in the history of humanity. Just imagine, the creator of the universe himself decided to personally take care of Moses' funeral. It is as if the president of the country came to his house to organize the wake of a dear relative. But in this case, it was the King of Kings getting directly involved in the matter. Moses' burial was so exclusive that no one, absolutely no one, knew where he was buried. Now you may be wondering, why so much mystery? Why would God do that? Well, the answer is deeper than we can imagine at first glance. The Lord, in his infinite wisdom, knew that the people of Israel had a troubling tendency to turn objects and people into idols. And let's face it, if Moses' tomb were known, it wouldn't take long to become a place of pilgrimage and worship. But it didn't stop there, my friends. What happened next was a real spiritual battle behind the scenes of the universe. On the one hand, we had Satan, the adversary, interested in revealing the location of Moses' body. On the other, none other than Archangel Michael fighting to keep the divine secret. It was like we were watching a heavenly action movie. And why was Satan so interested in Moses' body? Now, he knew very well that if the people found out where the great leader was buried, it would not be long before they began to idolize his remains. It would be the perfect opportunity to divert the worship of the Creator to the creature, a tactic that the enemy has used since the beginning of time. But God, in his infinite mercy, did not allow this to happen. He knew his people needed to learn a fundamental lesson. True worship is not tied to places or objects, but rather to a direct relationship with the Lord. It's as if God is saying, "Hey guys, you don't need any middlemen here. You can talk to me directly." The exclusive burial of Moses teaches us a precious lesson about the nature of God. He is not a distant and indifferent being, but a loving Father who cares about every detail of our life and even our death. Just imagine, if he cared so much about Moses' funeral, how much more does he not care about each one of us? And it doesn't stop there. This story shows us that there is much more going on in the spirit world than meets the eye. As we live our everyday lives, epic battles are being fought in the unseen realm. It's as if we're just watching the tip of the iceberg, with no idea of the magnitude of what's happening below the surface. The fact that God hid Moses' tomb also teaches us about the importance of focusing on what really matters. Instead of clinging to relics or sacred sites, we are called to seek a living and dynamic relationship with the Creator. It is as if God is saying, "Do not dwell on the past. Look at the future I have prepared for you." Finally, Moses' exclusive burial reminds us that, in the end, what remains is not the monuments we erect or the tombs we visit, but the legacy we leave. Moses did not need a grandiose tomb to be remembered. His actions and his faith speak for themselves to this day, and it makes us wonder, what kind of legacy are we building in our own lives? Now, let's dive into a subject that would make any Hollywood screenwriter jealous: Satan's interest in Moses' body. It sounds like something out of a movie, doesn't it? But believe me, this story is more real than many people imagine. And look, it has more layers than an onion. Imagine the scene. Moses, the great leader of the people of Israel, has just passed away. His body lies somewhere unknown, buried by God himself. And behold, Satan, that old enemy, appears with a peculiar interest in this body. But why? I wonder what was going through the mind of this spiritual adversary. Well, my friends, the answer is deeper than it seems. Satan, in his millennial cunning, knew very well the power that relics have over the human mind. It's like he has a PhD in mass psychology. He understood that if the people of Israel had access to the body of Moses, it would not take long to turn it into an object of worship. And here's the trick. By diverting worship to Moses' body, Satan would be killing two birds with one stone. First, it would be turning the people away from the worship of the true God. Second, it would be tarnishing the memory of Moses, turning him into an idol, exactly what the great leader always fought in life. But it doesn't stop there, no. Think with me. What if Satan could not only reveal the location of the body, but also take it for himself? Imagine the damage he could do. He could use his body to create false miracles, deceive the people, and perhaps even attempt a fraudulent resurrection. It would be the perfect blow against the faith of the people of Israel. It is as if we were watching a cosmic chess game. On the one hand, God protecting the body of Moses and the purity of worship. On the other, Satan trying to use that same body as a key piece in his plan of deception. And in the midst of it all, the people of Israel, who had no idea of the spiritual battle that was going on behind the scenes. But here's a valuable lesson for all of us. The enemy always tries to use God's good things for his evil purposes. It's as if he were a skilled forger trying to pass a fake bill in the middle of the real ones. Moses' body, which should be remembered with respect, could become a tool of deception in the wrong hands. And let's not forget that this was not the first or last time Satan attempted something like this. Remember the bronze serpent that Moses made in the wilderness? Well, centuries later, it had to be destroyed because the people began to worship it. It's amazing how prone we are to turning symbols into idols, isn't it? But there is a question that remains in the air. Why did Satan bother to fight for Moses' body if God had already hidden it? Well, maybe he believed he could turn the situation around. Or perhaps, knowing human nature, he knew that it would be enough to plant the seed of doubt for the people to begin to seek out and eventually idolize anything they could find. In the end, Satan's interest in Moses' body teaches us a precious lesson about spiritual watchfulness. We need to be always on the lookout, not only for obvious temptations, but also for those that come disguised as something good. After all, as the saying goes, all that glitters is not gold. And sometimes what appears to be a holy relic can actually be a spiritual trap. We're talking about an angelic battle, an epic clash behind the scenes of the universe. On one side, we have Archangel Michael, one of the most powerful celestial warriors. On the other, none other than Satan, the adversary. And the reason for the dispute, the body of Moses. Just imagine the scene. While on earth the people of Israel mourned the loss of their great leader, in the invisible kingdoms a fierce battle was being fought. It is as if the sky itself has been transformed into a battlefield, with rays of light and darkness colliding in a spectacle that no human eye has been able to witness. But why Archangel Michael? Why not some other angel? Well, Michael is no ordinary angel. He is described in Scripture as the protector of God's people, an elite heavenly warrior. It is as if God has sent his best general to this crucial mission. After all, when it comes to standing up to Satan, you want to have the best of the best on your side. And don't think it was an easy fight, no. The Bible gives us a clue to how intense this battle was when it mentions that Michael did not dare to pronounce an injurious accusation against Satan, but said, "The Lord rebuke you." It is as if even in the heat of battle, Michael maintained respect for God's authority, showing that even in the most extreme situations, we must act with integrity. Now imagine what was at stake in this battle. It was not just about the body of Moses, but about the spiritual future of an entire nation. If Satan were to win, he would have a powerful weapon to turn the people of Israel away from worshipping the true God. It would be like giving a thief the key to the bank vault. But Miguel was not fighting alone. He had the authority of God himself on his side. It is as if he had a special power that Satan, with all his cunning, could not overcome. This battle reminds us that no matter how difficult the fight is, when we are on God's side, victory is already assured. And you know what's more incredible? All of this happened without anyone on earth knowing. It's as if there's a parallel world of spiritual battles going on right above our heads as we go about our everyday lives. It makes us think of how many invisible battles are fought by us every day, doesn't it? This angelic battle also teaches us about the importance of humility. Even though he was a powerful heavenly being, Michael did not rely on his own strength, but on God's authority. It's a reminder to all of us, no matter how strong we think we are, our true strength comes from the Lord. And there's another valuable lesson here, the importance of striving for the right things. Michael was not striving for power or personal glory, but to protect God's plan for his people. This makes us reflect. What are we fighting for in our lives? Are our daily battles aligned with God's purpose? Ultimately, this angelic battle reminds us that while we can't see it, there is a constant spiritual conflict all around us. But we need not fear. Just as God sent Michael to protect Moses' body, he also sends his angels to guard us. It's like having an invisible heavenly army by our side, ready to defend us in the battles we don't even know we're facing. Let's talk about something that is more common than we think: idolatry. Do you know that mania we have to turn people, objects, or places into idols? Well, it seems that this trend has been in our DNA since the earliest times. And it was precisely to prevent this that God took drastic action with Moses' body. Just imagine, if Moses' tomb were known, it wouldn't take long to become a pilgrimage point. People would go there to make requests, leave offerings, maybe even try to feel the presence of the great leader. It is as if Moses, who fought so hard against idolatry in life, ran the risk of becoming an idol after death. Ironic, isn't it? But God, in his infinite wisdom, stepped forward. By hiding Moses' body, he was saying, "Hey guys, the show isn't over. Don't get stuck in the past. Look to the future." It is as if God is teaching us to honor the memory of great leaders without turning them into objects of worship. And doesn't this lesson apply perfectly to today? How many times do we see people idolizing celebrities, politicians, or even religious leaders? It's as if we have a constant need to create heroes, even if it means putting imperfect human beings on divine pedestals. But preventing idolatry goes beyond avoiding the worship of people. It teaches us to stay focused on what really matters, our relationship with God. It is as if the Lord is saying, "You don't need intermediaries here. You can talk to me directly." A powerful message in a world full of gurus and spiritual influencers, don't you think? And you know what's more incredible? This attitude of God shows us how much he cares about the purity of our worship. It's like a parent who removes obstacles from the path so that his children can walk without stumbling. God knew that the people of Israel were prone to idolatry, so he took preventive measures. What a love, huh? Now think with me. How many times have we created our own modern golden calves? It can be money, success, relationships. Anything we put above God in our lives becomes an idol. It is as if we were repeating the same mistake of the people of Israel, only with different objects. But the story of Moses' hidden body reminds us that true worship is not tied to places or objects. It happens in the heart. It's as if God is saying, you don't have to go anywhere special to find me. I'm right here, always available for you. A comforting message in a world that often makes us feel distant from God, isn't it? And there's more. This prevention of idolatry teaches us to value people's legacy, not their remains. What really mattered was not where Moses was buried, but what he did in life and the teachings he left. It's a powerful reminder for all of us. What kind of legacy are we building? What will people remember when they think of us? Finally, God's attitude in hiding Moses' body invites us to a deep reflection. In what or in whom are we placing our trust? It's easy to create idols, but the real challenge is to keep our eyes fixed on the invisible God, trusting Him even when we can't see or touch. It's like learning to walk by faith, not by what our eyes can see. A difficult lesson, but incredibly liberating. Let's talk about a verse that is like a nugget of gold hidden in the pages of the Bible. Deuteronomy 34:6 says, "And he buried him in the valley, in the land of Moab, opposite Beth Peor. And no one knows to this day the place of his burial." Sounds simple, doesn't it? But my friends, this verse is full of mystery and meaning. Just imagine God Himself, creator of the universe, playing the role of gravedigger. It is as if the King of Kings had come down from his throne to personally attend the funeral of a dear friend. This shows us how special Moses was in God's eyes. And you know what? It also reminds us that each of us is equally precious to the Lord. But the verse does not stop there. He mentions that no one knows to this day the place of his grave. It is as if God had created the first and best-kept secret in history. Not even the best detectives or archaeologists have been able to unravel this mystery. It is a reminder that some things must remain hidden for reasons that only God knows. And speaking of reasons, have you thought about the reason behind this secret burial? It's as if God is saying, the important thing is not where Moses is buried, but the legacy he left. Yeah, how many times do we get attached to places and objects, forgetting to value the teachings and examples of the people we admire? This verse also teaches us about trust. The people of Israel had to trust that God had taken good care of Moses, even though they did not have a tomb to visit. It's like learning to ride a bike without training wheels. Scary at first, but liberating once you get the hang of it. How many times in life do we need to trust God, even when we can't see or understand what He is doing? Deuteronomy 34:6 is like a portal to the spirit world. It makes us realize that there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than meets the eye. As the people mourned the loss of Moses, a spiritual battle was being waged for his body. It is a reminder that our actions here on earth have repercussions in the spiritual realm, and we cannot forget the place mentioned in front of Beth Peor. This place was known to be a center of pagan worship. It is as if God is making a statement. Even in the face of idolatry, I remain faithful to my servant. What a powerful message for us, who often feel surrounded by negative influences. This verse also challenges us to think about our own mortality. Moses, as great as he was, also met his earthly end. It's a gentle but firm reminder that we will all one day depart this world. The question is, what legacy are we leaving? Are our lives pointing to God, like Moses's? Or are we raising our own golden calves? There is also a lesson about humility in this verse. Moses, who led an entire people and talked face to face with God, had a simple funeral without pomp. It is as if God is teaching us that true greatness is not in elaborate monuments or ceremonies, but in a person's character and faithfulness. Finally, Deuteronomy 34:6 invites us to look beyond the visible. In a world obsessed with hard and scientific evidence, this verse challenges us to exercise our faith. It's as if God is whispering, "Trust me, even when you can't see or understand." And isn't that the essence of faith? To believe in what is not seen, but knows to be true in the heart. Silence in the heavenly court. The case of the century is about to begin. On one side, we have Archangel Michael, an elite celestial warrior. On the other, none other than Satan, the accuser. And at the center of the dispute, the body of the great leader Moses. But make no mistake, what is really at stake here is a lesson in judgment that spans the millennia. The scenario is surreal. The mighty Moses, who faced the Pharaoh and parted the Red Sea, now lies lifeless. And behold, an unexpected dispute arises for his remains. It sounds like a movie script, doesn't it? But this true story teaches us more about judgment than any earthly court ever could. In this story, we see Archangel Michael facing Satan. And you know what's more surprising? Michael dares not judge or accuse Satan. Instead, he says, "The Lord rebuke you." It's as if Miguel was saying, "Look, I'm not the one who will judge you." That's the chief's job. What a powerful lesson in humility and respect for divine authority. But it doesn't stop there. Michael's attitude teaches us something crucial about judgment. Not even the most powerful angels have the authority to judge on their own. It's as if God is saying, "Hey guys, leave the judgment to me. You don't have all the information to do this fairly." And doesn't that apply perfectly to our lives? How many times do we find ourselves judging others without knowing the whole story? It's like trying to put together a puzzle with half of the pieces missing. The result will never be complete or fair. This lesson on judgment also reminds us of the importance of mercy. If even Michael, before Satan himself, dared not accuse, how much more should we be cautious in our judgments? It is an invitation to look at others with the eyes of compassion, not condemnation. But wait, you might be thinking, so you mean we can never judge anything? Not quite. The lesson here is about recognizing our limits. It's like driving a car. You can and should make judgments about speed and driving, but it's not up to you to judge traffic laws. In the same way, we can discern situations, but the final judgment belongs to God. And there's more. This story reminds us that all of us one day will face divine judgment. It's as if we were rehearsing for the big day. The way we judge others now may well reflect how we will be judged in the future. Didn't Jesus say something about, "With the measure you wear, you will be measured"? Another fascinating aspect of this lesson is how it teaches us how to deal with our own failures. If not even Michael dared to accuse Satan, who are we to condemn ourselves mercilessly? It is an invitation to be kind to ourselves, recognizing that the true judge is merciful and just. Finally, this lesson on judgment challenges us to live in a way that does not fear divine judgment. Not out of arrogance, but out of trust in God's grace. It is like living each day as if it were a heavenly audit, not out of fear, but out of love and desire to please the Lord. After all, in the end, isn't that what really matters? Open your hearts, for we are about to unravel one of the greatest mysteries of the faith, the meaning of true worship. And who would have thought that the key to this enigma would be hidden in the story of Moses' burial? The stage is set. Israel's great leader departs this world, and God, in his infinite wisdom, conceals the place of his final rest. At first glance, it seems like a strange decision, doesn't it? But in this divine action, we find a masterclass on what really matters in worship. Think for a moment. If Moses' tomb were known, how many would not make it a shrine? It is easy to imagine crowds on pilgrimage bringing offerings, lighting candles, but would that be true worship? God, in his providence, shows us that he does not. By hiding Moses' body, the Lord was declaring loud and clear, worship is not about a place, a relic, or even a great leader. It's about me. It is as if God is calling us to a deeper intimacy, free of intermediaries. This lesson is more relevant today than ever. In a world full of spiritual influencers and self-help gurus, it's easy to fall into the trap of worshipping the messenger instead of the message. The story of Moses reminds us that our focus should always be on the Creator, not the creature, and what deliverance there is in that truth. Notice, we don't need a specific place or sacred objects to connect with God. True worship can happen anywhere, in traffic, at work, in line at the grocery store. It is a matter of attitude of the heart. But make no mistake, true worship is not superficial or casual. It is a deep commitment, a total surrender of who we are. Moses in life demonstrated this worship through his obedience and intimacy with God. And after his death, God made sure that we continued to learn from his example. There is yet another fascinating aspect to this lesson. True worship takes us beyond the visible. When we don't have a grave to visit or a relic to touch, we are challenged to exercise our faith. It is as if God says, "Trust in me, even when you cannot see or touch me." And isn't it amazing how this truth echoes through the ages? Centuries later, Jesus would tell the Samaritan woman that the time would come when true worshippers would worship in spirit and in truth. It is as if the story of Moses' burial were a prelude to this revolutionary revelation. Finally, the lesson about true worship that we draw from this story challenges us to deep reflection. What or who is at the center of our worship? Have we created Moses' tombs in our lives, focusing on secondary things instead of God himself? The answer to this question can completely transform our spiritual walk. Lights, camera, heavenly action. At the epicenter of one of the most intriguing spiritual battles in biblical history, we find an imposing figure, the Archangel Michael. But who is this celestial warrior, and what is his role in this divine drama involving Moses' body? Let us take a journey through time and space, beyond the veil that separates the visible from the invisible. There, as the people of Israel mourn the loss of their leader, a fierce dispute unfolds. On one side, Satan, the adversary. On the other, Michael, the prince of angels. The prize in dispute? Nothing less than the body of the great Moses. But why Miguel? Why not some other angel? Here's the crucial point. Michael is no ordinary angel. His name means, "who is like God," a declaration of war against anyone who dares to put himself in the place of the Most High. It is as if God has sent his highest-ranking general to this critical mission. Notice Michael's strategy. He does not confront Satan with his own strength or authority. Instead, he declares, "The Lord rebuke you." It is a masterful move that reveals Michael's true role, not as a judge or executioner, but as a loyal servant who recognizes God's supreme authority. This scene offers us a fascinating glimpse into the heavenly hierarchy. Michael, even though he is a powerful archangel, submits to divine authority. It is a lesson in humility that echoes through the ages. No matter how high our position, there is always someone greater to whom we must submit. Miguel's role in this episode goes beyond mere physical protection. He is advocating for something far more precious, the purity of worship. By preventing Moses' body from falling into the hands of Satan, Michael is protecting the people of Israel from idolatry. It is like a spiritual bodyguard, not only of the body but of the faith of an entire nation. And what a powerful lesson for us. Michael's role reminds us that we are in a constant spiritual battle. Just as he fought for the body of Moses, there are angelic forces fighting for us, protecting us from dangers we don't even realize. It's a comforting thought in an often scary world, isn't it? But Miguel's role does not end with this battle. Throughout the scriptures, we see him appear at crucial moments in history. It is as if he were God's special agent, sent to the most delicate and important missions. His example challenges us to be faithful on our own daily battlefields. There is also an intriguing aspect to Michael's role. He teaches us about the limits of spiritual authority. Even though he is a powerful celestial being, Michael does not take on the role of God. It is a powerful reminder to religious and spiritual leaders. Our job is to point to God, not to take his place. Finally, Miguel's role in this story invites us to a deep reflection. Who is fighting our battles? We often feel alone in our struggles, but Miguel's story reminds us that there is more going on behind the spiritual scenes than meets the eye. Perhaps at this very moment, there is a Michael fighting for you. Wow, what an incredible journey we have just made, isn't it? We explore the behind the scenes of one of the most intriguing spiritual battles in biblical history. But now, the question that remains is, what do we do with all this knowledge? Think about it. How many times have you found yourself giving more importance to objects, places, or even people than to God himself? It's easy to fall into this trap, isn't it? But now that you know why Satan fought so fiercely for Moses' body, you have the power to change that. How about doing an idolatry detox in your life? Start by looking around you. Are there any modern golden calves you need to take down? Maybe it's that obsession with an influencer, that heirloom that has gained almost godlike status, or even that personal achievement that you can't stop extolling. And speaking of spiritual battles, have you ever stopped to think that there may be an Archangel Michael fighting for you right now? What would your life be like if you started living with this awareness? Imagine facing your challenges, knowing that there are heavenly forces on your side. But beware, knowledge without action is like a car without fuel. It's not going anywhere. So I challenge you, choose one thing, just one, that you learned today and put it into practice this week. It may be to focus more on God than on intermediaries, to be more aware of the spiritual battles around you, or simply to practice more humility, as Archangel Michael taught us. And you know what? This journey of discovery and spiritual growth does not have to stop here. There is much more to learn, much more to grow. So if you want to continue exploring these fascinating topics and deepening your faith, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Just think, what if the next video contains exactly the message you need to hear? Do you really want to miss it? Click on the registration button now and join us on this incredible journey of biblical discovery. Remember, knowledge is power, but the application of that knowledge is transformation. So what are you going to do with what you've learned today? The choice is yours and the time is now. Until the next video, and may God bless you and keep you.